RedDevilSports.com for 24/7 sports. Follow him on Twitter or X at Chris Karpman. Did you win any money? More importantly, up there in Vegas, Chris, did you come up with some cash?
In fact, I did.
Yeah.
I won $125 playing blackjack at Bellagio. I was smart enough to walk away when some friends wanted to get a drink and not return to the table.
Good man. That's hard to do, man.
You are disciplined.
You're up, and then you want to play with your winnings, kind of double it, and you are disciplined to walk away. Good job. Nice job. Hey,
don't worry, I've lost money over the years.
Yeah. So, from the reports, of course, none of us here were there, but what was the energy? You know, Deion Sanders basically said that it was kind of quiet. I mean, is it just because of the environment being in Allegiant Stadium and how big it was?
Well, the media aren't there to be cheering for anyone. So, there's not fans in the building or anything. So I really don't understand what Deion Sanders was expecting from anyone outside of the actual cheerleaders of the teams who were in attendance, right? Nobody was going to get a standing ovation. So that was a little bit weird. I've been to a lot of media days over the years. It was different in a sense that it was on the field at a stadium where there's, Super Bowls going to be played or whatever. But, that made it sort of a cool environment and a setting better than I think that some of the Pac-12 ones that we've been to over the years. And there was more people because there is more of a media interest, I think, at a lot of these college towns. Places like Oklahoma State had like 15, 20 reporters there covering the team. And you just didn't see that with some of the Pac-12 teams traveling to media day. So I thought it was pretty cool. There were a lot of people I've never seen or met that I was able to for the first time, and then also plenty of familiar things.
Do you feel, Chris, to that point that there's a little more fanaticism there with the Big 12 than you saw in the Pac-12, just because for a lot of those states, I mean, that's their game. That football, they don't have pro teams. That's pretty much it. And they're dialed in with 4, 5, 6. As you mentioned, there may be 8 different reporters covering one school.
Yes, that is the big difference, I think, and the reason why the Big 12 ended up proving to be a superior option to the Pac-12 for the Four Corner schools. It just matters a lot more to these schools. Like there's no substitute or alternate pathway to success rather than putting all their chips on the table, and to use the analogy of Vegas, on following their college athletics programs. And I think that matters a great deal, and that was one of the things that upended the Pac-12.
And with covering all these teams, was there a common theme amongst the coaches? Because a lot of times I've listened to some of them. There's a lot of coach speak, Chris, as you know. But did anything stick out that was pretty much abnormal by some of the coaches for their team or players or what have you?
Not really. I thought Kyle Whittingham wore all black, and he was like almost dressed for like a funeral, even though he's picked Utah's pick to be one of the best teams in the conference, with Cam Rising coming back, Brent Keefe coming back. Crazy enough, those guys have been in college a very long time. St. Dillingham talked about the fact that when he was a graduate assistant at ASU, he was involved in recruiting Cam Rising. This is like 9 years ago now. And it just goes to show you like how long some of these people have been in college football. I've always personally liked the coaches who say the same things or very similar things off the record, or just kind of, with a smaller group of media that are friendly to them. And then as they say, the same things as they say on the main stage at some of these events, the thing for me is I'm not spending a lot of time with all the other coaches in those sorts of settings. So it's hard to really know which coaches are different in private than what they are in public. But there weren't really a lot of head scratching things. I mean, I think, clearly, Deion Sanders is, he's a firebrand. A lot of people are going to, take notice of things that he says, and he's got a personality. Mike Gundy, he kind of, got in trouble a little bit with some of his comments about one of his star players who had the DUI arrest and all that, and he had to sort of correct something that he said, or clarify at least something he said on social media. But there weren't really any big major foot in the mouth moments.
All right, so we're having a conversation with Chris Karpman on the Right Toyota guest line. My question is, did you or any of the other media people attend the open bar put together by the Pac-12 conference with two people there?
No, I was gone by then. I wouldn't have gone anyways. Like that. That would have just been sort of weird and awkward for like somebody covering a team that is no longer in the Pac-12, and not really writing from a national angle on any of that stuff. I thought it was really kind of sad, but also somewhat humorous. Some of the things that even the new commissioner of the Pac-12 said about they're having a good case for drinking now compared to everybody else. I mean, I thought that was kind of sad, but also funny.
Chris, Utah picked to win the conference. ASU picked to finish last. I know it's a media poll, preseason poll, but we get to talk about it before the season starts. Do you feel that is the case, or do you feel that they'll exceed expectations in the doubters?
I don't think ASU is going to be the worst team in the Big 12. I would, if it's me coaching, I'd rather my team be picked 16th versus 15th, 14th, 13th. Because you're trying to find some value in that you can extract and motivate your team to put a bigger chip on their shoulder, right? Everybody knows ASU is not expected to be really good this year, coming off the worst 2-year stretch since World War II, back-to-back three-win seasons. But I've watched a lot of spring football, 2 decades worth, really, and this does not look like a team that's going to win like 2 or 3 games, which is kind of where you would have to be to end up 16th in the Big 12.
Also, on your Twitter feed there at Chris Karpman, you talk about, I forget who the player was talking about how guys are sticking around all summer long. They had like 10% involvement last year. Now this year they got like 90% of the guys that are sticking around. I worked with Navi Bruzon at least twice a week. He's sticking around. He's over there at ASU. They're working out on campus. Is that one of the main differences Kenny Dillingham talked about in reference to this team being bought in, understanding what they're supposed to do, and with guys sticking around and wanting to maybe have that chip on their shoulder? They're ranked 16?
Yeah, Cameron Scadaboo said that. It probably was a little bit hyperbolic. I doubt that they only had 10% of their team there for voluntary workouts on Saturdays last summer. But the reality is that its culture doesn't change overnight. This staff in Dillingham inherited a losing culture, point blank. And you can recruit guys and you can bring in the right players, but you still have a whole bunch of other guys that are returning, and you have the culture that you inherit, and it's going to be a multi-year process. They've now cycled out a lot more players. A lot more of the guys on the roster are guys they brought in. They've spent a lot more time, infusing what they want and what they expect throughout, everywhere in the roster. Not just our guys showing up more, but it's materially impacted the strength and athleticism of the group. So an example is they have 30 more players on the team this year compared to last summer who can squat at least 400 pounds, right? I mean, football is a game where you need to be big and strong and athletic. And this was not a team that was good or anything close to good in those categories a year ago. And while they still may not be good relative to the rest of the Big 12, they're certainly a lot more comparable. And that gives you a better trajectory this year and beyond.
And I got to tell you, Chris, I thought that Kenny Dillingham was brutally honest at his presser, talking about, we've been down for the last 3 years and we're 16th ranked and owned up to it. But he mentioned what you talked about as far as culture, building the program, and moving forward. He didn't try to duck it whatsoever or have any kind of excuses. He said, we deserve to be 16, but he threw that big but, kind of what you alluded to.
Yeah, I've known Dillingham quite well for a very long time now, probably 11, 12 years. And one of the things I really respect about him is the thing that he will say to me in a one-on-one conversation are very similar, if not exactly the same, as what he would say to an audience of thousands of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching on television or at a press conference. Like, there's not like, he's not saying privately, oh, I don't like this, this, and this, and then publicly being like, oh yeah, I'm super happy about those exact things. There's nothing like that about Dillingham. So at least fans can understand the things that he's saying publicly, that's how he actually feels, because he says those same things privately to people when he knows that it's off the record. And that's really important, because you're not getting snowed over by him. Like you're getting an honest assessment of what he thinks is going on with his team at every single point in time.
Spend that money already?
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm going to hang on to that $100 bill.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Chris, thanks for jumping on with us, man. We always appreciate you. Great work you do. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Chris Karpman, publisher of SunDevilSource.com for 24/7, that is, sports, and on Twitter at Chris Karpman. Appreciate him. He's brought to you today, since he's a big gambler, CAZ Sportsbook. You can bet the game, watch the game, the Sportsbook in Casino, Arizona. They got 3 live betting windows, 6 self-service betting kiosks, plus 8 screens that display all of the betting lines. Check it out for yourself. Open daily from 8 to 11. That's the CAZ Sportsbook in Casino, Arizona. All right, we need a contestant. We need